Disney doesn't have the balls to make a horror movie, so I'm gonna take two popular Disney movies and make them some horror posters. And the first movie is Wreck-It Ralph, so here's the plan. Since this movie takes place inside of an arcade machine, I kinda wanna show that in the poster, and since Ralph is a pretty angry guy, I think he'll probably be a good choice for the villain. So let's open Photoshop and get started. The first thing we need to create is the arcade machine, so I'll go around the poster and add a bunch of shapes to create it. That did take a while, but after I was done, I made the background gray and then added some soft light to differentiate it from the arcade machine. To finish up the machine, I added some red side panels, and this is what we're working with, which honestly kind of sucks. But just trust the process, alright? I know you can kind of see the vision. So let's add some textures to the bottom gray part of the machine, and then add that same texture to the top. After putting that same texture on this red part, I'll add a bevel and emboss for some better lighting. Let's add a new square for the screen, and then round out the corners a bit. I'll add some slight shadows on the outside of this light red section on both sides, which I think looks better, but I'm also going to put some shadows on the inside of this gray part to just give this machine some more depth. Let's add an outer bevel onto the screen part to make it look more realistic before adding this arcade style text saying Wreck-It Ralph. I'll make the text white with a bright red inner glow and a red outer glow as well. Now let's add this Disney Pixar logo at the top of the machine and just paste those same effects onto that. Now I'm going to take these buildings from the game in the movie and turn it into this. I'll add some pixel style grass at the bottom and make that darker. And now let's add our boy Ralph on top of the grass in this angry looking pose. But I'll remove the pupils in Fix-It Felix's eyes because, well, you're about to see why. I'll put the top half of Felix in Ralph's left hand and then put his legs in the right hand. I'll add some pixelated blood to add to the gore, but now let's add that image onto the screen of the arcade machine. I'm also going to put a screen-like texture on top of all that because it's a screen. Now let's make a copy of that layer and add a Gaussian blur to add some reflections to the machine as well as some more glow on the outside. I got an image of these buttons, so let's choose the red one and cut it out with the pen tool. I'll place that button onto the machine and adjust the angles a bit, but we can't just have one singular button, so let's give it a few friends and then put an outer bevel and some inner shadows on them with a few color adjustments to bring them into the scene a little better. But we still just have 4 random buttons on the machine and a lot of free space to the right, so once again let's cut out this joystick with the pen tool. And once I'm done with that, I'll add it to the arcade machine and adjust its shape a little bit. After that, I'll add an outer bevel and some glow coming off of the screen. But if there's light in front of it, then we're gonna need some shadows, so that's what I'll do. And I guess we should probably do that with the buttons as well. Finally, let's put a camera raw filter onto everything to make it look more alive. So this is Wreck-It Ralph, but just a little bit more bloody. I don't know why, but I feel like this movie would be really entertaining to watch, but let me know what you think in the comments. And if you are enjoying the video so far, don't forget to subscribe or I'll Photoshop you pregnant. But let's move on to one of Disney's most popular films, Up. And the plan is to take this nice old house and recreate the entire thing, but make it look a little bit more run down and scary, like a haunted house or something. And obviously we'll add some balloons and other stuff after that, but let's just hop into Photoshop and start designing. The first thing I have to do is recreate this house, which is going to be a little bit boring and time consuming, so we'll speed this part up. After spinning around an hour remaking the entire house with different shapes, I now basically have a naked version of the house. But before we start adding the textures, I do want to go around and match the lighting with the original house image while it's still a little bit less complex. So I was basically just adding exposure layers on top of the shapes and trying to copy the shadows from the original house. Okay, this definitely looks a lot nicer and more similar to the original, but now let's start actually adding the textures, which I don't really need to explain, so we'll speed this part up as well. After another hour of doing that, we finally have most of the textures onto the house, and we can start making the actual composition of the poster. So I'll adjust the size of the house a little bit before adding a gray sky behind it and piling on a bunch of balloons. Now let's isolate this lightning strike and give it a blue glow before copying and pasting that around a few times, but I did actually end up removing the first one I added. Let's make the sky look a little bit more blue to match with the lightning, and then also adjust the colors on the house and on the balloons. But if you didn't notice, I didn't add any windows yet, so after cutting this one out, I'll place it onto the house before removing the wood behind them so we can see the reflections of the sky. I did also put a copy of the sky behind it so it doesn't look like we're just seeing right through the house. But now let's cut out and add some slightly different windows for the other parts of the house and just add them in the right positions. I basically did the same thing I did with the previous ones, but after I was done, I added some broken glass onto them. After that, I'll add this old wooden door to be an old wooden door, but we don't have any textures onto these shapes below the windows, so I'll do that and then add some shadows and a bevel and emboss. And this is what we have so far, which actually isn't too bad, but one thing that always helps make these images look better and more realistic is adding highlights. So that's exactly what I'll do. Now, we can't have a movie poster without the movie's title, but I couldn't really find anywhere to place it, so let's make this house a little bit smaller again before editing this movie credit text with my name on it like 30 times. But I'll put that at the bottom, and above that, add the title. Alright, look, I know not every horror movie poster has to have blood in it, but I feel like it kind of just helps with the posters I make because we don't have an actual story to go with, so I try to add some more details for you to come up with your own little story in your head. And if we're gonna be honest, these videos would be like 2 minutes long if I was making a poster like this, which is a really cool poster, but for a YouTube video, I also have to keep in mind that it has to be entertaining for you to watch as well. But after adding some blood, I'll bring it all together with the good old Camera Raw filter. So this is our horror version of Up. I did actually make an extra poster for Turning Red, but I didn't like it, so I ended up scrapping it. I think this poster has a cooler concept, while this one just simply looks cooler, but let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this in the future.